Hey everybody, it's Connor from the HooperCast. Here we are back on Facebook on a Monday night. It's a nice night for some movie talk. Real quick, we have a podcast. And if you're watching this on Facebook Live and you had no idea, then and you're wondering what the page is that I shared this video with, it's our podcast page. That's what it looks like on our YouTube page. We have full episodes, talk about movies, and the YouTube page looks like that. So if you like a little bit of what you listen to here, the show is a lot more in-depth in terms of what we discuss and how much we discuss them. Go over to the page, give it a like or a subscription. Even if you never use YouTube, get us to 1,000 likes so that we can make some sort of pitiful amount of money on these videos and feel important. Tonight is the quick pick. It's a mini version of our show where Dustin and I, it's usually Dustin, my partner Dustin and I, but Dustin's busy. I'm doing this stuff by myself for the time being. So we're going to talk about some box office analysis and some weekend movie, what's coming up stuffs. So last week, if you weren't watching the quick pick, which was, what else did you have going on? What else did you have going on other than to watch my show? The box office looked like that. It was number 1 was Crazy Rich Asians, number 2, The Meg, number 3, Mission Impossible Fallout. And I had predicted that I thought that this past weekend on the box office, that what was it? I predicted that number 1, Crazy Rich Asians had hung on for 3 weeks at number 1, and I predicted that Crazy Rich Asians would hang on to the number 1 spot. Again, this weekend, I predicted that the incoming horror film, The Nun, would take the number 2 spot and bump The Meg down to number 3. So was I right? I was pretty good last week because I predicted this top 3, all 3 guesses. I was correct. So how did I do? How did I do this weekend? Not great. What we've got this weekend is these 2 premiering films taking the number 1 and 2 spots. So Crazy Rich Asians gets bumped down to number 3 from number 1 spot for its 4th week, but I'll say just barely, in a manner of speaking. So the number 2 spot was taken by Peppermint, this revenge action film starring Jennifer Garner, who and revenge flicks are nice. I didn't think Peppermint would be a player. I just didn't. I was wrong. However, it should be pointed out that it beat Crazy Rich Asians by about $300,000 on its opening weekend, and Crazy Rich Asians is on its 4th week in the box office, and it's still, you can see 13,148,000. Peppermint opens at 13,423,000. So really just barely taking the number 2 spot. But what is a runaway for number 1, which I was stupid to ignore. I was sort of betting on the word of mouth from Crazy Rich Asians, but I should have thought that people love horror films, and it's week number 4 for them Crazy Rich Asians. So, of course, The Nun takes the number 1 spot at $53 million, not even close, $53 million opening gross, which is pretty cool. It's got a $22 million budget. It's already made its money back and then some in this opening weekend. So, pretty successful opening for Warner Brothers and New Line. Good for them. So, yeah. What do we think? What do we think for next week in the box office? By the way, remember how last week I said that I thought that sentimental movies were just sort of sappy and a crowd pleaser. You can like them, but I want to point out, you can't really see it. Oh my God, my graphics. Okay, you can't see it on this. Okay, the very bottom of this screen, you can actually see this the top of this golden line. The number 11 spot went to God Bless the Broken Road, which, if you remember, last week I had said it looked schmaltzy and I didn't think it would do that well. Well, turns out it's in limited theater release anyways, and it opened with about $1.3 million. Yeah, so I'd say good for them, but not really. But we don't know the budget. The budget could be $13. So who knows? What do we think the box office is going to be next week? Well, depends on what's coming out next week, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Well, if you look at the slate, there's a shitload of stuff coming out next weekend. That's a lot of films coming out this week. I'm not going to focus at all on most of these because most of these I'd never heard of or might be in limited release. When you don't give Fandango a zip code, it sort of just throws everything at you in the country that could possibly be coming out. So I looked at 3 of these films I thought would even be remotely, I don't know what a simple favor is, and Unbroken, Path to Redemption, So 3 of these movies I thought were interesting to look at. So obviously I think that the biggest player this weekend is the new Predator film. Now, as you see right there, it has a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's not great. That's rotten. But I watched the trailer for this, and I gotta tell you, I'd be spending my money on this. This looks the most appealing to me. The synopsis, if you care, which you really shouldn't: outmatched and outgunned soldiers battle vicious alien warriors that hunt humans for sport. If you've never seen any of the Predator films and you have no idea what they're about, that's what the Predators do. So I'm assuming I say this, like if you're coming to see this film, then you already know what the Predator is, although they market this with some pretty broad appeal to get new people in. So I guess maybe they do have to explain it. Anyway, the Predator is this ugly looking thing, and it's an alien from another planet, and it, obviously being an alien, it's from another planet, unless it's an illegal alien. But it comes from other planets to hunt people. It hunts for sport, basically. So I liked the most recent Predator film in this franchise they made was Predators, and that was in like 2009, I think. And that was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it was not. Sorry, it was produced by him. It was directed by a guy named, something. Anyway, starring Adrian Brody and Alice Braga. I liked Predators. I thought they did a really good job with it. This is one of the first times that all the human hunted were actually dropped onto the Predator's planet to run around as caged game, basically, and be hunted. And then, spoiler alert, they beat the Predator, but then they're stuck on the planet, but they never made a sequel. So you can probably just assume they died. So this one is back on Earth, and there's a group of prisoners, and I think they have to kill the Predator or something. What's significant about this film is that the original Predator film was written by Shane Black, who also wrote and created Lethal Weapon. You guys would know Shane Black in recent years from directing Iron Man 3. He directed The Nice Guys. He directed this film. So some people were thinking, the Predator, that's a tired franchise. I'm not excited about that. And I sort of would have thought the same thing, but I like Shane Black. And I think since it's just his property, basically, that he's kind of in charge of here, I think this could actually be something cool. And I liked the trailer. I thought that the trailer looked kind of fun. Some people are sort of saying that, it's over the top and it just sort of goes too far. It's just too broad. I think that's perfectly fine considering it's an R-rated action film. This is a hard action film with lots of gore and a predator and just lots of F-bombs. Like, I think this would be a great time in the theater. And this is one of the few times I can argue, see this in theaters for sure. I think this will be a really fun experience. I know it says 54%, and trust me, I do care about that score, but critics can be really split when it comes to these kinds of movies. They can take them too seriously when they're not meant to be, and sometimes the movie isn't serious enough, but people don't care. It's just with comedies and action, I really feel like Rotten Tomatoes can really not represent what the audience might think. A lot of people just want a nice little fun escape and watch some gore and see some annoying characters get killed and other characters succeed. So maybe it's simplistic, but Shane Black writes really punchy dialogue. I like his direction, and he's a good writer director, and I always like his projects. So I don't have the cash to see this in theaters, but if I did, I would. So I'll definitely be checking this out when it comes to digital or video. But that's what I would go see this weekend. There's also White Boy Rick here. I don't know the name. The picture I have here is too blurry. I can't read the names, but this has Matthew McConaughey in it as well. This has a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, another R-rated film, although it's more of like a suspensey kind of thriller. I won't say dramatic, but it's not like a straight action flick like Predator is. The synopsis says, White Boy Rick is based on the true story of a blue-collar father and his teenage son, Rick Wersha Jr., who became an undercover police informant and later a drug dealer before he was abandoned by his handlers and sentenced to life in prison. So it seems kind of, I don't know if you want to say like a Goodfellas-y vibe, but anytime there's people, being an FBI informant, whether it's The Departed, or any crime or gangster movie, tends to be fun. At least I like them. Matthew McConaughey is great, and if you watch the trailer, this is the first time I can think of in recent memory, at least, that he's not speaking just with his his trademark Texas drawl. He's they're from Detroit, so he sounds like he's from Detroit, and it's just, people might not consider that a stretch, but if you want to just say, oh, that was a Matthew McConaughey doing his Matthew McConaughey voice, they're like, no, that's not what he's doing, because he's from Michigan. He's a good actor, guys. He tries, and when he takes roles, he takes them seriously. White Boy Rick looks like a lot of fun. I'm not sure what's up with the Rotten Tomatoes score. Who knows? The other thing I thought was worth mentioning this weekend is there's actually a documentary, although at least in the Mobile area, I doubt this is released, but I've been wrong before about stuff like this. It's called American Chaos, and it's a 90-minute documentary about the 2016 presidential election, specifically about President Donald Trump, or then, candidate Donald Trump. I can't see any reason why this wouldn't be a divisive and controversial film to go see. Simply, I can guarantee you, I guess slightly more than half the country will not go see it. The synopsis says, potential voters discuss their feelings for 2016 presidential candidate Donald Trump. Again, I can't see why that would be. I'm sure that will make tons of money, you guys. Although I'm sure it's in lots of theaters in the red states. But that's sort of the whole point, is like the guy who's, who makes the documentary he states in the trailer, like, I don't think that people in blue states understand people from red states. So I decided to go across the country and talk to these people about why they love this man so much. And so I'm watching, he's talking to Trump supporters, issue by issue. And then by the end, he's, it ramps up and there's like rallies and stuff. And he looks more and more concerned and says something like, I feel these people's pain, but you have to wonder, is the man that they're putting their trust in taking us all to the brink? And I thought, especially we're 2 years into this, the election night was almost 2 years ago. This will still be in theaters on the 2-year anniversary of the election results. And so much has happened since then. And we've sort of, like, the whole idea of like, and maybe this was filmed during the campaign. So, but it stinks. And trust me, I'm not one to talk when it comes to putting out content too late. But if you're going to make a movie about this, it just seems a little bit dated already. Just because even podcasts I listen to, even a week late, if they're vaguely political, they're already behind on the news because the news cycle turns over so fast in this country, and especially with this president. And I just feel like he's asked his thesis statement at the beginning of this trailer was, I don't think people in blue states understand people in red states. Well, yeah, welcome to the party, man. Like, where have you been? We all sort of addressed this, leading up to the results and certainly after, because basically everybody said, yeah, the big problem is people in blue states don't understand people in red states, and perhaps vice versa. So, like, I feel like his premise is already out of date. So I don't know if this is just supposed to market to Trump supporters just to collect some money, or whether it's supposed to not market. I don't know who this is for. Potential voters, again, the synopsis, discuss their feelings for 2016 presidential candidate Donald Trump. Well, you can go on Twitter and see that. Why do you have to watch a movie? Why do you have to pay to watch a movie? That's another thing. Why are you paying to watch a film where people discuss their feelings for Donald Trump? That's the easiest content probably in the world to obtain right now. You're probably doing it as you watch my show right now. You're scrolling down Facebook looking for people to scream at. So I don't really see the point in going to theaters to see American Chaos. I don't get it. I really don't. So instead, if you don't want to see anything in the theaters this weekend, totally understandable. I'll recommend something I recommended on the full show from last week, from Friday. Just a little quick recommendation. If you have Netflix, you probably do. I would recommend this 3-episode docu-series, City in the Sky, from BBC and PBS. And it's 3 episodes that are each a little under an hour long, where you learn about airports and air travel from takeoff to airborne to arrival, just how everything works, how the baggage claim works, how the concourses, the subways underground work, like just the security infrastructure, all that stuff, how that all works. It's all in this documentary, and it's super interesting. There's really good graphics in there, really good animation, it just keeps you really engaged. They're throwing a lot of information at you, and there's a lot of sound bites, a lot of graphics, a lot of stuff to really keep you engaged. It's a really fun documentary series. I mean, you could knock this all out in one night, like I said, or you could watch one per night. You could do this over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Just sort of make it a little treat. Pour a glass of wine, watch one of these with somebody, a fellow knowledge seeker, and it's a really cool thing to watch. But I definitely think if you're going to the theaters this weekend, I think Predator is the top bet in terms of where you want to spend your money. At least that's where I'm most interested to spend my money. I mean, the rest of this list, I don't know what you're into, but that's a big list of stuff to see. That's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 20 movies right there. You could go see any one of those movies, but I think that, you might, I don't know what your taste in movies is, but I'm saying that for my money, Predator would probably take the cake in terms of what I want to go see. So in terms of what I think the box office will be next week, what is it again this week? The Nun, Pepper. See, I think Predator, can Predator take over The Nun? See, The Nun didn't have a great score either on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it can. I mean, The Nun's rated R, isn't it? It is rated R. I didn't look. That's a big factor, because if it's not, then that's a lot of people. Well, look, I didn't think The Nun could take number 1 because I thought that it might be too violent and too scary that it wouldn't turn out a big audience. So if the scary rules are out the window, I think Predator is going to open at number 1. I think The Nun's going to have a big drop off, because I just think that if you're going to see The Nun, you go see it opening weekend, and I don't know, it just seems like an event, more like a big event film, and Predator does too. So here's my prediction. I think that next week, number 1 is going to be The Predator. I think The Nun will hang on to number 2. What else is opening this weekend? White Boy Rick. See, White Boy Rick, I don't know if a lot of people are going to go see that. I just don't. But Matthew McConaughey is a big draw. Oh, this is tough, you guys. Okay, the big question is, can White Boy Rick overtake? Will it knock Crazy Rich Asians? Here's the thing: if White Boy Rick was not coming out this weekend, I think Crazy Rich Asians would take the number 2 back from Peppermint. I think Peppermint's done next week. Peppermint's out no matter what. So the question is, does Crazy Rich Asians hang on to the number 3 spot for one more week, or does White Boy Rick come in and take it? I'm going to have to say White Boy Rick. I think White Boy Rick takes number 3. That's what I think. But a distant third. I think The Nun will still pick up probably over $40 million for this next weekend. And I just think Predator probably going to take like 40, like 45. It'll be close for number 1. I still think The Predator is going to overtake it. That's my thing. Wow. I've been going on almost 19 minutes here. Let me get out of here. It's Monday night. Stay in, see some good movies, work hard, do your job, all that stuff. But this weekend, get out there, see some good movies, or catch some good stuff on streaming. I'll see you on Wednesday for the HooperCast in whatever form it takes. I might do a pre-recorded show. I might do a live show. I might do all kinds of crazy stuff. You never know. So until then, thank you for tuning into the show, or checking this out, or listening to me in the background, or checking us out on iTunes, any of those things. And I decided to put this on YouTube as well. So hello, YouTube. You get the quick pick now, because I'm nice like that. Good night, everybody. See you later.